This is Wilson Morales reporting from the 2014 Tribeca Film Festival. I'm here with actor Nate Parker, who happens to have two films at the festival. One is about Alex, the other one's Every Secret Thing. The first one is about Alex. How would you best describe your character?
My character, Ben, is a guy that experienced a lot of success as a young writer. Now he's trying to find himself as a 20-something and trying to find the same success, trying to figure out ways to navigate things in his life in a way that they will complement that writing success, and that kind of gets him into trouble with his relationship. As you know, the story is about a guy who, after a failed suicide attempt, his friends kind of rally around him to nurse him back to health. And the irony is that it becomes more about their relationships as friends and their hurts of the past and healing themselves rather than healing him. So it's a coming of age, which is a very fragile thing. It's a good way to do it in a bad way, and I think that Jesse Zwick, the director, really nailed it and really creating something that had an intimacy that came off as authentic.
The movie's been seeing like a St. Elmo's Fire meets Big Chill meets an assortment of other films we've seen in the past. Not to compare any of this film to any of that, but you've been in a number of projects that involved an ensemble cast. What was it like working with this particular film?
The ensemble for me always depends on the filmmaker. The filmmaker will set the tone. You always get questions where you're like, well, there were so many people. How did everyone, deal with their storylines? I think that it's the director's job to make it so the things that tangle in the way he wants them to tangle, and they untangle the way he wants them to untangle. And the arcs are met and achieved in the way that he's presented them in his vision. So, and if you trust your director for that, then everything else, you show up and you do your job, and it works out in the end. So I love the ensemble. I feel like everyone who showed up, from Max, from Aubrey, Maggie, Jane, everyone showed up to work, and and it kind of, the environment lent itself to a very cohesive cast. We didn't have trailers. We were in a tent together that we shared. There were no Starbucks down the street. We were in the middle of the country in Windsor, New York, in an abandoned ski loft. So a lot of times we just spent together hanging out. We'd be upstairs playing cards, and then they call our names, and we go down to our scenes. We come right back up. So it's like this continuous, relationship experiment.
Now, there's a lot of subjects in this film, and you can pick apart any one of them. Have you been in a situation where obviously there are people you grew up with and you haven't seen them in a while, and had you been in a situation where you needed to console a friend who was depressed?
Well, all the time. I think that's life. Life is about stepping away from relationships and coming back and hoping that your relationship is strong enough that you can kind of ignore the time that's passed. I have a very, David Yellow is a very, very close friend of mine, and sometimes we go, last time we just went 6 months without talking to each other, and then we get on the phone and it was like we were at dinner at each other's house the night before. And I think that, that's kind of, friendship is friendship. But at the same time, friendship, like anything else, requires a certain level of attention. I think in the social media age and with the way technology is going, sometimes we will supplement interactivity with kind of this browsing culture. We see what we want to see for the time we want to see it, and we go on to the very next thing. But what this film really asks us is, what is the definition of intimacy in a relationship amongst friends, amongst lovers, with Maggie, who portrays my girlfriend. So it's all about the discourse. Where are we with respect to relationships when it comes to social media, and are we willing to allow this browsing culture to kind of take over our lives and accessorize the things that are supposed to be staples in our lives?
Now, you mentioned your character's a writer who's kind of going through a writer's block, and you're an actor. And have you been in a situation where, obviously the script's in front of you, but you're not feeling it, like it's hard to get into that character?
Yeah, well, I think that's the work. Any person that tells you, oh yeah, I saw the character and I just got into it in no time, is probably someone that is not going to be able to achieve the desires of the character in the way that they should. I think that just like if I was going to portray you, it would take a certain level of research and a certain level of frustration. I have to figure out, why does he do this thing the way he does, or what is this nervous tick? Where's the root of that? There's a lot of work that goes into becoming someone else. It's like it's real soul searching. You're finding their souls, you're finding their motivations. So with this character, this guy with his writing block, it was kind of the same way. This is a writer trying to find himself. The block was more in him trying to achieve a genius that he felt like may have passed a long time ago. So the block wasn't that he wasn't creative or that he didn't have the talent. It was that there were other issues that needed attention. And that happens in life.
In a funny sort of Nate Parker's 6 Degrees of Separation Way. Here's a film that's directed by Jesse Zwick, who father's Edward Zwick, who directed Denzel in Glory, who you starred with in The Great Debaters.
There we go.
I don't know if anyone ever brought that up, but did you ever think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I really, Ed Zwick was an executive producer and the father of Jesse, and Jesse manned the ship. When Ed was there every once in a while, just to provide support. But I do think that in many ways it's a passing of the torch from Ed to his son, and from Denzel to me and others in my generation. I always say that Paul Robeson did something for Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier did something for Denzel. Denzel's done something for me. And my job is to do something for the next generation, and not just leave them, the street as I've arrived to it, but to add something to it, whether it be, adding a bridge or paving the road or adding flowers. Everyone has to look to their inner self to provide something that'll make the road a little easier for the next generation.
The second film you have at the festival is called Every Secret Thing, which happens to be a thriller and a mystery. How would you best describe the role that you're playing in that one?
Well, in Every Secret Thing, I'm portraying a character that's a partner to Elizabeth Banks' character, and we're trying to figure out, basically, a child's gone missing. We're trying to figure out the details behind that. And, of course, we met with several options. It's based on an incredible book. And it's a thriller. Like you said, it's something that it's thought-provoking. It takes you to the left, it takes you to the right, and it really makes you examine, your feelings about, people you see and your stereotypes and, who's suspicious and why. But it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working with Elizabeth. I really enjoyed working with Dakota Fanning and Diane Lane and Common. Common has a great scene, a couple scenes. He's come so far as an actor. A lot of respect for him as an artist. So it's I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about the project. That premieres in a couple days, and we'll see how that plays. And hopefully it's a similar response to this film about Alex.
What was the attraction to doing that film?
It's a detective. I love cerebral characters that take whatever the tools that they've attained over time, and they kind of apply it to something, and they need their smarts to figure something out. I'm very much driven to things that require, thinking and critical thinking. So, and I really like Elizabeth Banks. You know what I mean? And the cast was just, it's really solid, and the material was excellent. And I love Amy, the director. So it was it was a no-brainer for me. After reading the material and sitting with the director, who's an incredible force, it made it easy.
Now, what's interesting is that you mentioned that this is based on a book, and this is the second project that you're working with Dakota.
Yeah.
On a project film that was based on the book, because you guys did The Secret Life of Bees together. So like, I don't remember if you had any scenes in that film, but what was it just like? I'm sure you guys are connected at one point or another during that filming.
Yeah, Dakota's great. I mean, she's just, she's more mature than anyone I've ever met for her age. She knows what she wants. She doesn't put any pressure on herself. She puts in the work. She's such a hard worker. She's so humble. I remember in Secret Life of Bees, she made these T-shirts with bees on them, handing them out to everyone on set. She's a star, And I say star, I don't mean it in the sense of this meteoric thing that falls. I mean it in the sense of her humility and her professionalism. She has staying power, and I really love her.
Now, we're early in the year, but so far we've seen you almost everywhere. You got these 2 films at the festival. Earlier on, you were in NonStop, which is doing well at the box office, and that was a change of pace for you in terms of the character you play.
Sure.
And going back to that, for those who probably haven't seen it, what was just like working on that particular film, working with Liam, and now Oscar winner Lupita?
It was great. I mean, Liam Neeson is a force. He's someone that he has the chops to Schindler's List, and he has the action and humor to be able to do NonStop. He's just a humble person, on so many levels, and a little bit of humility goes a long way. A lot of the actors that are a little older don't understand that the younger generation's watching. They're looking to them to see how they carry themselves and to see how get a little insight on what their careers will be in a few years. And he stands up to that test every time. He's someone that, in many ways, I've modeled. I've learned from him and modeled certain aspects of my career behind. Lupita, that's a whole nother conversation. Here she is doing this film nonstop. You know, she has this film in the can that she would go on to win the Oscar for. But you never know from the way she acted. You know, I still have, you know, she made me this beaded wrist, you know, the bracelet. She made it for some of the people. Like, she just showed up. She was so kind. Everything about her just screams integrity, and I'm probably her biggest fan. I'm just very much looking forward to what she's doing next, and I'll be at the forefront screaming at the top of buildings.
Now, you got another film coming out this year called Blackberry, which is directed by Gina Prince Bywood and stars Guga and Bada Raw. You know, talk to me about that film and the character that you play.
I'm very excited about Blackberry. I'm very excited about Gina. You know, I told Gina very early on, Gina Bywood, she did Seagull After Bees as well. She did Love and Basketball. I mean, she's just she's an icon already, and she's so young. But I said, you call me, I'm coming. Just let me know what you want me to do, where you want me to be, and we can figure it out. And so she called me about this film, and it's about LAPD officer and a pop star that fall in love, and the complications around trying to sustain a relationship under those circumstances. And it was so well written, and just working with Gugu and working with Gina, I think people are really going to respond to it. Really excited about it.
It's funny, you say law enforcement officer, singer. I'm thinking, is it a bodyguard type of movie? Or totally different?
You know what? You can make a reference to that, you know, because it's the whole relationship in itself is takes on this kind of fish out of water, you know, sensibility. You know, for a guy that's just a simple, you know, beat cop in a Rihanna type superstar, you know, you ask yourself, is it possible? Will it work? You know, are their lives so different that, you know, it would, you know, the issues surrounding and the environment will consume the relationship, and that's kind of what we fight for. We fight for each other. I'm not to tell you what happens, but I'm very excited about that project. And I'm directing a film in the fall. It's a biopic on Nat Turner, who led the most successful slave revolt in American history. It's the Black Braveheart, as I call it. So I'm just kind of taking on things that excite me. And keeping my eyes up, you know, praying hard and staying focused on what my legacy to, what I want my legacy to be, and trying to create films that present specifically African American men in a way that has intelligence and has integrity, and that can be, you know, kind of a message board for young people growing up.
Are you going to play Nat Turner?
I am.
Do you have a cast already?
We're working on it. It's we're shooting in the fall. It's very much in motion. There will surely be an announcement soon, so you'll be one of the first to know.
You know, have you taken lessons in directing? Like, where did this inspiration come from?
It's one of those things I've always wanted to direct. You know, I directed 5 short films. You know, I directed a short film last year that I was able to get financing for and shoot the feature in Malaysia. It's a film called Eden that is we're pushing to go to Toronto. So I've tried to stay very busy. You know, acting is a director's medium, and to be a director and to act, I believe, is the next step in the evolution of artists.
And at the end of the day, come Tribeca time, which is airing in a few days, actually happening now. What's a good reason to see the 2 projects that you're in?
Well, I think a good reason is that they're honest. You know, you'll see an authenticity that hopefully, you know, creates some kind of discourse around the subject matter.
Fair enough. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.